We are going to start with the cocoa cluster and to tell you what is going to happen in the common area. Each presentation of this morning about the cocoa cluster, then we will follow with the cereals and tubers, and then we will end with the coffee cluster. We have a description of the external facade of your house. Then we have a description of the scientific contents of the common area, so we will focus on the exhibition. And then we will focus also on the architecture of the common area, which is an integral part of the cluster. So we will start with the cocoa cluster, and Marco Chiodi will explain you how it's going to be, how it's going to look like your external facade of your house.
Thank you very much. I just introduced some slides to focus the position of your cluster in the Expo site. It's right in the middle of the Expo site. And in front of your cluster, there is Cascina Triulza. It's quite near to West Gate and East Gate. At your left, you have a rice cluster, and at your right, you have a coffee cluster. This is a general view of your cluster. Just to remind you, the dimension of this lot that is 3,546 square meters, and you have 7 units, and the common area is about 2,541 square meters. This is the main part of the common area. On the left, you can see a big area for temporary events of about 400 square meters, landscape exhibition area in the front of the Cumano, about 300 square meters, and another area for temporary events, more little and dedicated to small events like a cooking show and other stuff like that, about 200 square meters, and a passage inside the cluster that is a path for taste and buy kiosk about the theme of cocoa and also chocolate. In this slide, I will show you how your name will be presented on the facade of the cluster. You can see all the name are inside the common area, or on the secondary part. This is an important part because it's in between cocoa cluster and coffee cluster. And this is an example where you can see the name and the flag. The name is the big name will be in Italian, and the second name will be in the language of your country. We know you have more than one language, so you can choose which language you use for the secondary name, and then the flag. And it will be located, I show you one more, in this position. Now, also to make a little story about the design of this cluster, we make an international workshop where we design a concept with, in this case, Politecnico di Milano, Istituto Tecnologico de Monterrey, and SUPSI, it's a Free University of Switzerland. And then with 15 students, we developed 3 concepts. You choose one of these 3, and then with the team of professors from Politecnico di Milano that develop with the students the concept, we start a phase in detailing the design, and we arrive at the actual phase of construction. And then I introduce my colleague Fabrizio Leoni and Cesare Ventura from Politecnico di Milano that show you the main elements of the common area. So, 10 minuti.
Good morning. Welcome. Part of the presentation we're going to introduce today has already been showed a month ago, so probably we're going to repeat some of this concept. We're a little bit sorry about this, but today we try to go a little bit deeper into our project and presenting especially the common areas and the treatment of the facade, the textile facade and the wood facade of this building, of this pavilion, to see where actually the name of the country, the flag, are placed, and where the queue are supposed to happen, and which kind of information this facade are going to carry in terms of photos, in terms of contents, and other information. Our colleagues here on our left, they're from another main university, Milan Cattolica University, that will take care of the content of this exhibit. They will explain in detail this information, the display, right after my intervention. So this is one of the first models we made during the workshop for sort of a researching of this concept. And the main idea synthetically was about to reproduce, in terms of sort of a symbolic, iconic, or metaphoric image, the idea of a jungle where we have this very vehement, very much emergent, strongly emergent vegetation from the ground. And this sort of a vegetation, emerging vegetation, was supposed to address the building encountered in the jungle, and to change the geometry, to open up, to fold them up, and to create a sort of a environment that could be encountered in a visit in a sort of a tropical jungle, the cultivation ground, plantation, where the cocoa is normally growing. So this is just a metaphor that we use to go on this project, and to produce the image and the spatial organization of this project. This is a top view of our cluster, where you can see the sort of a natural environment, the public area, and this pavilion. They are folded up, and you can see by the means of this white textile, this white sails. This is a plan. Is there any cursor to use for pointing at? Posso usare un cursore? Qual è? No? Non posso indicare dei punti. Okay, I'm sorry. I was working, searching for a cursor for an arrow to actually point out the single areas, but I will do it again anyway. So here we have a common area. We'll through the presentation the different parts of this cluster, so it will be increasingly clear during the slideshow. We basically have this common area, which is a triangulated spaces that go a little bit up, a little bit down, a sort of a corrugated, topographically complex environment that diversifies into different areas, a central boulevard, a sort of a creek, a taste and relax area, an event area, and a specialized perform area. This area serves as a platform for the pavilions. They're carefully placed on top of this platform at different heights, so we can really reproduce some sort of a accidental terrain. This is an image showing the so-called central boulevard, this central creek, and this boulevard, which is a memory of a creek, or supposed to be a memory of a creek, acts as a central public space, so an axis of distribution from which you can access all pavilions and all specialized areas. And this area is especially important because it's the area where all the products can be displayed, can be advertised, can be sold, can be consumed, and of course can be shown in a sort of a very dense, very vibrant environment. This could be an image of what at the end it should be the central boulevard, so a place where people interact in a very free way. So there's not sort of a clear direction of where to go, how to move. So people are really free to move around, to enter the pavilions, to stay there, or to stop along this corridor into one of the counter we thought for this place where the products about chocolate, about cocoa can be consumed, displayed, and manipulated, et cetera, et cetera. This other area in the upper right part of this picture is saying something about the main event area, the theater area. You see these benches they are like a very design rough pieces, like a trunk abandoned in the jungle. And then later we see some pictures about these benches, this piece of urban furniture we developed for the cluster, creating this sort of a fun-like geometry of an event theater. This event theater is also one of the main part accessible from the Decumano, from the big public boulevard of the entire site. We see here one of the pictures trying to show how you approach this area in a daylight time. This area could be used during the day as a very sort of informal place to gather, so people could stay there, rest, read newspaper, just chat, having normal, informal activities. But at the same time, after twilight, so in the evening, this area can be used as a real event area for theater, performances, concert, presentation, any kind of things could happen there. They can suppose be under the control of the Expo direction or sort of a committee with you. You see that some of these trees, some of these vertical elements, they are supposed to populate this area. They can also serve for supporting speakers and other audio devices and lights for really creating a sort of a theater atmosphere. This is another very crucial point that's been lately introduced in this project. You see right in the center, in the symmetrical center of our area, there's a sort of a promenade, a main access from the Decumano, which gets you to a central focal area that we call sort of a specialized performing area, where other kinds of performance can take place, something more specialized, more specific on the chocolate or cocoa product manipulation. This could be like a really small specialized theater where you can imagine a maître chocolatier, an expert, a chef about cocoa products, making sort of art pieces about chocolate, showing his ability, his expertise about the very fine product about chocolate, about cocoa, and etc. These red lines, they make reference to a photo exhibit. We'll see a little bit better in the facade of these buildings later on. These facades are dedicated to big pictures. They're being developed right now by an important agency of photography about cocoa products. So this area is both another orthogonal entrance to our area, is a photo promenade, so a place where some of the most important pictures on display in this area are, and also this pivoting theater, sort of a small, cozy place where more specialized event can take place. This is the picture of actually the image of the space. You can see on the right the photo promenade, on the center of the picture this area where people can actually gather in a very informal way, and then on the right, on the facade of the left building, you can see some of this picture they're being developed right now. They can be enjoyed by the people while they are in queue. They're making the line for entering the pavilion. You see the central position of the maître chocolatier is under a roof, sort of a marquisine, in order to create a sort of an environment where this performance can take place. This is another important specialized area. Is more devoted to taste and relax. Is an entrance area. The sort of a triangular shaped area is sort of allowing, favoring people to access the area and to stay there. This brown lines, the brown rectangles are supposed to reproduce tables and areas for people to stay there, to eat, to enjoy the food, or just to relax, just to have a moment of break along the very heavy day of walking around in the fair. Well, this is exactly a picture reproduced in this area. You see this table, these benches, you see the people, how they can use this area. You see the lower part of this pavilion where an exhibit takes place, and that is produced at the proper heights in order to be seen and enjoyed by people in line. This is our some of the production about some of the ongoing design about this piece of furniture. As you can see, this benches has been designed accordingly to this idea of an image of pieces that can be encountered in such places. So not real pieces of very sophisticated and slick design, but pieces of design that somehow recalls an image of something like heart, like a piece of wood, trunk, something that can be found in a natural environment. This is other pictures basically about the same. These benches can be folded up and used, coupled as tables. This is some of the counters we developed. We have 2 versions. This is very important for people who are going to display the products, for the sponsor, and for anybody interested in developing activities along this boulevard, because you can see these are counters that can be used in different ways. You see the cooks, the chefs down here. This is the version 1. Then there's also a version 2, a little bit different. We still are designing this. We're not sure which one is going to be at the end. The one on production, will finally be there. And this is probably the most important part of our presentation about how the queue are made, where they are, where is the information, the content about the exhibit, about where is your flag, where is your country name, etc., etc. As I said before, this contents about the history, geography, and other important thematic about cocoa will be carefully and deeply examined by my colleagues from Università Cattolica. So I'm not going to say any word about this, just to present where they are physically. We can see here in this map, you can clearly see where is the facade exhibit area, where's the flag and country name, which is printed on the facade textile area, where's the country name that is hopefully going to be engraved, imprinted into the wooden pallets, and where are the queues and the entrances, and where is the photo exhibit, the one we're talking a little bit earlier. So this is sort of a template of this. Here we have slides for each country. Here we got the one about Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. And you will see exactly how things are shown. You see down the bottom part of the pavilion, the people are standing in line right beside the exhibit. So they stay in line, which is a very boring thing to do, of course, staying there, maybe more than 5 minutes. You know, sometimes under the sun, in a maybe improper weather condition, maybe it's raining, maybe it's very hot. It really depends. Milan from May to end of October has a very different climate, from kind of chill to very hot. So these people will be standing there and having the possibility to enjoy this carefully studied exhibition. They will basically stay under the sort of roof we call flap. We see a little bit, there is a sort of a flap under the hats. Then on the textile part of the facade, there is the name of the country and the national flag. And on the bottom part, on the side elevation number 2, we see the name fully engraved, you know, with capital letters, the name of the country. This is one of the main important things. Probably Marco Chiodi, that just introduced me in my presentation, is going to say something a little deeper later on. And this is the same thing we did for all countries. Here we have the one about Sao Tome and Principe, where there's something a little bit different, as Sao Tome and Principe stands on the photo promenade, the symmetrical central axis. I talk about minutes ago, where there is also, you can see in the elevation 2, the big photo displays. So one of the elevation, one of the facades of this building is fully occupied. The bottom part, under the textile part, is fully occupied by the photo pictures, images, purposely made for this exhibit. This one is about Repubblica Dominicana, which is also a country pavilion interested by one of the facades being occupied by the photo promenade. This is the Cameroon pavilion, which also has something to do with these images. I don't think I need to go in details where the QRs, where the facade exhibit area is, because I think it's very clear, very graphic in this image, but definitely now or in the second part of this this moment we can chat about this, we can be very precise, go deeply on each one of these pictures, of course. We are at your full disposal when we're here. This is the Ghana pavilion, which you see there's a little difference because the Ghana pavilion itself is associated with another little sort of a box for services. So this pavilion has this sort of a protuberance. It's a little bit different in terms of size. Then we have the Gabon. Gabon is the double pavilion, as we all know. So it's twice as big as the others, with his flag, his country name, etc., with his flag, with his queue and a photo picture as well. And that's it. I think, well, I occupied very much of your time, but I hope I've been clear enough. I'm here for your question. Okay, thank you very much. Sir?
Hello everybody, my name is Fausto Colombo, I'm professor at Università Cattolica of Milan. Here is my colleague Fabio Antoldi. We will share the presentation of our work. Our specific task was to present the contents about the cocoa and chocolate. And when we decided, when we accepted to do that, and immediately we found that the theme, the topic was really interesting and fascinating. Why? Because cacao is an element that crossed time and space in our world since 2500s before Christ, probably, and until now. So our idea was to analyze this concept, this element, in relation with this fascinating way of life. The scientific name of the cacao is interesting because it means food of the gods, and probably just in the name we are able to understand the capacity to fascinate. What is our choice in terms of presenting the contents is the idea of journey. Journey through the discovery of cacao until the everyday life today, but also a journey through the different disciplines. In our university we have a lot of faculties, a lot of different topics in our research, and so we decided to put them together. As we know, the cacao originates from the Latin America first cultivations already in 2500s before Christ, and the consumption is witnessed since 1500s before Christ at Mayans and Aztecs, so South America. After the Spanish colonization, the Americas, we have the so-called dark gold exported towards Europe and becoming a status symbol for a niche consumption, which was aristocracy. After that, we found that the innovation and production after the Industrial Revolution generated a sort of growth of consumer demand in Western countries overall, and the decision to invest in not only in Latin America but also in Africa. And now, what is chocolate is a sort of symbol of contemporary confectionery. No more a niche product, but more and more a luxury for all, a luxury for family and kids, sportsmen and women, and so on. Please.
Thank you, Fausto. Let's focus up on the more technical and scientific contents of this journey, this edutainment journey, education and entertainment. First of all, the history of consumption of chocolate is strictly connected to the origin, evolution, and domestication of cocoa as a fruit. For years, the cradle of its origin has been difficult to find, but finally, an accurate analysis of the cocoa genome proved its origin in South America, where domestication happened and from where moved through man. Domestication of cacao produced the three main varieties of beans known as Criollo, Forastero, and Trinitario, even if a more detailed analysis revealed the presence of 10 different genetic clusters in these species. The varieties originated by the domestication from the humid Amazon forests lie to the other side of the equator, reaching Africa and Asia. And so we are connecting the points all around the world. The contribution of biotechnologies, science, not only to preserve but also to use biodiversity, is an important tool for a cacao breeder. Cacao cultivation information is also deepened under a sustainable perspective. Today, the African Western Coast is the biggest area of the cocoa production in the world. Even the most sweet food consumers are not found in the same region. So the journey moves from the production of cocoa until the chocolate production. And here you can see the different phases of the production in this value chain. But how can a cocoa bean become such a huge culinary delicatessen? The processing of the beans can be described as a journey inside this journey. From the harvesting, the fermentation of the beans originates compounds affecting the aroma and the taste of chocolate, but it has to be stopped to the level required by means of the drying operation that allows the safety of the beans. And of course, these three phases occur usually in the country of origin. Then we move to the production of chocolate. So the dried beans are transported to the countries where chocolate manufacture occurs. Here beans are cleaned, roasted, and grinded. Reaction happening in these phases are fundamental for the determination of the product main characteristic, the food of gods. After grinding and refining, it is produced the so-called cocoa liquor, which is processed into two components, cocoa solids and cocoa butter, the two most important ingredients for the production of chocolate. Then, according to the chocolate type, the following ingredients must be added: sugar, milk, powder, emulsioners, flavored nuts, and dried fruits. The processing of chocolates up to final products is made of the following steps: blending and mixing of the ingredients, refining and conching. During these phases, the product is sweetened and fattened, and all of these phases will be explaining to the visitors. Each technological phase affects the final product in terms of color, aroma, taste, flavor, hardness, and crunchiness, but also as regard the preservation of the health property. That is the next chapter in this journey. There are many aphorisms, sayings, and quotes about chocolate, but probably the most famous on the net is that by John Tullius, who said 9% out of 10 love chocolate, and the 10th, of course, is a liar. Even in general, if the most delicious foods are thought to be unhealthier ones, chocolate, thanks to cacao, has lots of excellent properties for a healthy diet. So cacao is an important source of antioxidants, flavonols, And the daily consumption of cocoa powder and of dark chocolate can contribute to our health. But it is also important to remind that there are still some contraindications of an excessive consumption of cocoa of dark chocolate. The most common, of course, are overweight and obesity. The main benefits given by the consumption of chocolate on the circulatory system and also on the brain are following: reduction of arterial pressure, improvement of endothelial function, inhibition of platelets aggregation, increase of insulin sensitivity, reduction of oxygen radicals, and inflammation. This led to the reduction of risk of cardiovascular disease and stroke and improvement of the cognitive function. So we are not talking just about food. Nowadays, dark chocolate is also used in cosmetology. That is another interesting field of application of cocoa. And several treatments defined chocotherapy have some benefit for the skin. Moreover, chocolate, because of the cocoa, thanks to antibacterial agent, helps to prevent and fight against dental caries and to contrast the formation of dental plaque. But now we are talking about eating this product. So the next step is about the market. The history of cacao and chocolate can be also reflected in the labor of many people in the world involved in this production. And energy, creativity, and genius of different actors and people that take part in the chain are melted together. Every year, nearly almost 50 million of people together are a fundamental part of the production of one of the finest alimentary goods. The explanation of this defined structure brings the visitors to the discovery of a production chain that grows from all around the world and every year moves not only business and capital, but also produce innovation, research, technology, and the foster communication between people from different countries. This product creates and distributes prosperity in the community in many places in the world that can potentially produce wealth and development. According to the latest report available of International Cocoa Association, the cacao production reached in 2011 the amount of 4.3 million of tons against a world demand of 3.9 million of tons. Africa confirms its leadership in the production with a percentage equal to nearly the 75% of the world production. But also Latin America is a good producer, stable with almost the 13%, while Asia and Oceania are facing a decrease, but anyway together they make the remaining 12%. I'm sorry about the slide. This is the slide about production, of course. And another point is about chocolate consumption. So if we look on the opposite, to the demand side of the market, we must note that the process ends in satisfying the consumer desire thanks to a final product that contains centuries of history. Germany leads by far the ranking of the heavy consumption countries. Honestly, at the very beginning of our work, we thought that Italians were a good consumer of chocolate, but it's nothing compared to Germans. Well, almost 12 kilos per capita per year of chocolates is really a huge amount. But anyway, Italians will make their best in order to wake up during the Expo. At the end, summarizing the economic aspects. As we already noticed, many realities participate in production and selling of cocoa and chocolate, and more than 30 countries around the world are involved in the entire chain, from field to shelf. This is the starting point for an analysis of the economic dimension of the world of cocoa and chocolate. The visitor in his journey will go through the examination of the role of cocoa and chocolate for producing countries, but also for consuming countries, for cocoa and chocolate together, thanks to up-to-date data and information related to the market and to international supply chain. Just a final point. In addition, we will give attention, of course, to the real or fair trade between the countries and sustainability items in the sector.
Just a minute again. Thank you so much for an applause. Okay, how our journey stopped? Stopped with over in art and communication look. We can say that cacao and chocolate colonize the Western countries in terms of imaginary in some way. Since the parlor of a nation aristocracy during the 18th century until now, crossing the early 20th century when the Art Nouveau represent for the first time the advertising about chocolate. And you know, when Cadbury decided to put its brand on the chocolate box, starting with a new wave of industrialization of chocolate. In some way, we have the first declaration of a new era where chocolate is a gluttony for all. And we dedicate a short sentence to the fact that during the Second War, the chocolate peck was a sort of symbol of peace given by the American army to the people which was liberated from the Nazi occupation. Now we have a lot of just the last slide about the representation of chocolate as an instrument of pleasure, as a tool for pleasure in advertising, movies, and TV series. Thank you.
If you have some questions, or we can move quickly to the next cluster, which is the cereals and tubers. One question.
Yes, I think it's an excellent presentation, but I don't see the transnational corporation, the Nestle, the big firms doing business with chocolates.
Okay. We decided in this stage of the production of the contents not to focus upon the companies. But of course, because there are also some contract constraints about the sponsor in the future, we know that some companies will sponsor the cluster for one side. On the other side, companies will have space. But I think the focus in this case is more on the countries and on the people. So production is a human activity that is both source of income and prosperity and creativity and the opportunity through cultivation, production, consumption to let the human spirit and energy to come out and to demonstrate to all the world all the richness of this food.
Thank you. I'm Leela from the Caribbean community. My question relates not just to this cluster, but all the clusters. Each cluster is going to have a number of participants, but with single common areas. Who manages the use of the common areas? Thank you.
I will try to repeat what was presented yesterday. It's something that is shared between countries, the organizer, and the partner. Our main task as organizer is to have the cluster operations well done. But we need to talk with the countries and we need to talk with the partners. So it's a free shared responsibility. Just one more, then we move to the cereals and tubers.
Bonjour, je suis François-Joseph Delinois de la délégation d'Haïti. Et la présentation qui a été faite sur le cacao m'intéresse beaucoup. Quand le nom scientifique effectivement du produit correspond à la nourriture des dieux, Théobroma cacao. J'aimerais savoir si vous avez fait une étude qui démontre les bienfaits de la consommation du cacao sur la durée de vie des habitants et des aborigènes, des Indiens, puisque il a été bien mentionné dans votre présentation que le cacao est connu depuis déjà des siècles avant Jésus-Christ. Alors, est-ce que, compte tenu de la valeur biologique du cacao, de la valeur nutritionnelle du cacao, et on sait qu'il y a quand même des acides gras dans le cacao qui ne sont pas bien absorbés, bien ingérés par l'organisme à certains âges. Est-ce que vous avez travaillé, est-ce qu'il y a possibilité de démontrer les bienfaits de la consommation du cacao quand on dépasse les 40-50 ans sur la durée de vie? Ça, c'est le côté, je dirais, nutritionnel sur lequel on devrait insister pour le visiteur. Donc, cet aspect-là, j'aurais aimé que vous le preniez en considération. Merci.
Merci à vous de votre question. Je réponds en français si vous voulez. Et alors, dans notre présentation, il y a une partie nutritionnelle que nous n'avons pas traitée ici parce qu'il n'y avait pas le temps pour le faire. Mais il y a une partie qui cherche d'envisager les données les plus à jour sur la question nutritionnelle, sur quelles sont les vertus nutritionnelles et les problèmes nutritionnels. Quand vous aurez l'exposition complète, je pense que vous pourrez lire. Mais la deuxième chose que je voudrais dire est que de quelque façon, notre travail n'est pas terminé, mais commence de quelque façon aujourd'hui, parce que nous sommes ouverts aux suggestions et aux intégrations.
Oui, parce qu'il y a les acides gras insaturés qui ne sont pas bien, hydrolysés par l'organisme. Donc, de toute façon, et ça peut avoir des conséquences néfastes sur la santé. Et donc là, c'est peut-être l'occasion d'approfondir ce que vous allez montrer aux visiteurs. Merci.
Oui, d'accord. Je déjà répondu.
We have to switch to the next cluster. Sorry, just one more question, no more. Thank you.
Merci. J'ai vu que, à la lumière de l'exposé que vous avez fait, il est demandé qu'il soit retransmis à travers un scénario ou bien donc un circuit à l'intention donc du visiteur, la chaîne de valeur de l'incubation jusqu'à l'arôme. Étant donné que les producteurs n'ont pas toute la technologie, et dans la présentation, on a mis l'accent sur donc, les producteurs, sans compter donc les fabricants. Alors, est-ce que les producteurs doivent un partenariat avec les fabricants, tous ceux qui ont la technologie, pour mettre en exergue cette chaîne de valeur. Voilà ce que ma préoccupation. Merci.
Probablement Fabio répondrait mieux que moi, mais moi je réponds parce que je parle français. Alors, je pense que vous devez comprendre que nous avions 10 minutes pour énoncer un travail qui s'est concrété en 30 pages d'exposition. Et il y a beaucoup là-dedans. Ce que je voudrais proposer est que ceux qui sont intéressés peuvent vérifier ce que nous avons écrit et peuvent suggérer des intégrations s'il y en a besoin. Et nous sommes absolument ouverts à réécrire des parties du document. Mais je voudrais aussi dire que ce qui me semble une bonne occasion est d'avoir occasion ultérieure, d'autres occasions pendant l'exposition. Parce qu'il y a la place pour faire des événements, pour créer des événements, pour réaliser quelque chose de nouveau et qui va se joindre au travail que nous avons fait. Comme ça, je pense que c'est une collaboration qu'on va faire et ça sera très intéressant pour nous. C'est tout.